I'm delighted to be joined once again by Tony Gale and a big special guest this weekend, Martin Bayfield, ex-Lions, ex-England. Martin, we're going to have a look first of all at the Six Nations.
Right.
Wales, of course, Grand Slam winners, champions, defending champions. They are the slight favourites at 9-4. France 3-1. England under Martin Johnson 3-1. Ireland under Declan Kidney 7-2. The other two we're not even going to talk about because they've absolutely no chance of winning it. So looking at the big four in the market, what do you see happening in this year's Six Nations?
I think Wales are the favourites, without doubt, and they Grand Slam champions last year. Out of all the home unions, they had the best of the autumn internationals, beating Australia, pushing South Africa close, performed well against New Zealand. So I see them as favourites. Whether they'll do it with the Grand Slam again, I'm not entirely sure, but I would expect them on form to win the championship. Doing it by Grand Slam is a big ask, but I should expect them to win. France, I'm never quite sure, depends which team turns up, but I would put them as second favourites. England, well, they had a pretty miserable autumn, so we're hoping for a turnaround under Jono, and he would have had them for a bit longer, so yes, but I would put England, Ireland and maybe Scotland kind of around about the same level, with Italy behind them. So any one of those three, Ireland, Scotland or England, could jump out and surprise, but at the top I would expect Wales to be first and France coming in second.
So you fancy Wales to win the Six Nations?
To win it this year.
And the World Cup, jumping ahead a little bit, 2011. Yeah. New Zealand the favourites, but they are the proverbial chokers. There's no doubt about that in the World Cup. South Africa, reigning champions, of course, having beaten England in last year's final. They're at 5-1, as are Australia. England are 8-1, France 14s, Wales 16s, and Ireland 25-1.
Yeah.
Where do you see any value there in the World Cup? I know it's a couple of years ahead, but you've said England have plenty of potential.
They've got potential. I mean, it's interesting to see the odds on Wales well down from England, but at the moment you'd put them above. So I think what people are looking at is in the 2.5 years now maybe we've got who will improve the most. I fancy New Zealand to win it though. I do fancy them to win it, but then along with everyone else I fancy them to win it before every World Cup. As you said, they tend to choke. South Africa I don't see defending their championship. I don't see them winning the World Cup. I think they've got a few problems further down the line because it's a difficult country to predict how they're going to do, very political. Australia are always going to be in the mix. France, they always have one bad game during a World Cup. Unfortunately for them, it comes in the knockout stages and it takes them right out of the mix. England, there is potential there, but they're going to have to crack on. At the moment, I would say that the attractive bet would be Wales, because with Gatland in charge, they could push on. They really could. Whether it's enough to see them win a World Cup, I'm not entirely sure. But the favourites would have to be New Zealand, but I think people are nervous about backing New Zealand because
maybe Wales at 16-1 for a bit of interest.
It's not a bad one, but New Zealand, surely this time they've got to do it. They've got to do it. They can't wait 24 years, can they, for the next World Cup?
Well, thanks for tipping up two favourites. Our punters will love that anyway at home. Tony, we're going to switch on to football now at the moment. Big game this weekend. I've got to ask your thoughts on Manchester United taking on Chelsea at Old Trafford.
Massive game, Leon. I think you'll be working overtime at your bookies. Is it as big as a big race meeting, this type of game, Man United-Chelsea?
Well, you know, a one-off football match like this, live on Sky, turnover goes through the roof. And it certainly will be by far and away the biggest football game of the weekend for us, absolutely. But I'm asking you for your opinion.
I'm going to go Man United, Leon. I'm going to go 1-0 as well, because I think it's going to be so tight. Interesting in the week, you know, they started against Derby, Manchester United, but he rested plenty of players. But interestingly, he took off the experienced players, left the kids on. That means he's given them a rocket, Sir Alex. He is the master of club football, Sir Alex, the master of international football, Fabio Capello. Why? Because they're old school and they know how to kick players up the backside, so to speak. So for me, Man United, Chelsea stuttering at the moment. I think they're there for the taking at Old Trafford, and United have got to win their home games. We've spoken about it before. They've got the top 6 now to come at home. They played them all away. This is the really key time for United, so I'm going to go for United.
Yeah, they've only got 1 point out of 9 against their 3 main title contenders away from home so far this year, so they need to pick up points at Old Trafford. Martin, you're an Arsenal fan.
I am.
The league It's beside us here, but it's not going to happen this year for the
No,
Gunners.
I think it's just too much work.
But maybe a cup competition like the FA Cup or the Champions League could be where they're going to have a chance.
They can do, because I think the thing that Arsenal are missing at the moment is a bit of a spine to the team. Just that hardness that will get them through. When they play the game beautifully, there's no one better than Arsenal. And that kind of, it's almost like Spurs, isn't it? Which I hate to bring those two names together. But in a cup competition, it can carry you through to a final and you can win it. But in the hard yards of a league, you've got to be able to dog out some wins, and that's where Arsenal aren't succeeding at the moment. So in the cup, yeah, maybe.
Good draw away, away 2-leg tie against Roma.
Yeah.
Probably the best they could have hoped for against a top team.
Well, they've come up with some big wins, haven't they, in Europe over the last few years, where people have expected them to struggle and they've surprised. So yeah, that's maybe the.
And your
the
thoughts
area.
finally on the big game on Sunday? United against Chelsea. At Boyle Sports, we've got a money back special, by the way. If Ronaldo scores first or last, we're going to refund all losing single bets on the match. It's around about a 2-to-1 shot.
You see, that's just I've lost.
Come on, Martin, you can open an account, Martin.
Do you get like sort of, is it sort of 2 for 1? But I would, from what I've said, I would say United. I'd go and expect United to win at home, because Chelsea just seem a little bit unsettled for whatever reason. Can't quite understand. They look to be doing quite well. Then all of a sudden, things have shaken up a little bit, but I'd expect United to win that one.
Well, you've heard it from Martin. He's gone for 3 favourites: Wales, New Zealand and United. Thanks very much, Martin.
That's
And thanks,
right.
Tony.
Cheers, Leon.